Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Lighthouse. I'm, as always, very happy to be here with you for another integrative practice meditation session. And we've had a really rich week in terms of the content that we've been investigating and activating within our own individual organisms and within our community, and with the big vision of then projecting that clarity out into the planetary community, which is a community in flux with tremendous amount of evolutional change. And so I just want to take a moment to kind of articulate a little synopsis of some of the themes that we've been resonating with this week, because I feel like they're all so rich and relevant and directive for us as a community of awakening practitioners. You know, on Tuesday we started working with the idea of mental hygiene and how we're cleaning out all of the alcoves and the cracks and crevices and the attic and the basement areas of the brain, of the mind, so that we can be as optimistic and as innovative and as compassionate as possible, which is what we call the Buddhi mind. On Wednesday in Qigong, we're really focusing on how to take all this immensity and intensity that is the burning of our world right now, and to not become another burner necessarily, but to use that intensity, to use the pressurization and the polarization to foster what in the East is called tejas, which is the splendorous, self-effulgent radiance of a person who has a clear mind and an open heart and a very active caliber of discernment in their every action and attitude. In yesterday's session, we were inquiring and investigating around this beautiful map that was created by Deepa Iyer around social change ecosystems. That's what's going on inside of you every time you practice any form of IP meditation or any kind of meditation, whether it's movement or still form. We're creating change in the ecosystem of the organism, but we are in a most historic time of creating social change in our planetary ecosystem, and in hopefully in ways that are going to be more harmonically aligned with sustainable systems. And so in her map, to just recap the map, she spoke about some old school, new school archetypes that can really lead the way for us. She spoke about identifying whether or not you are a weaver or an experimenter or a frontline responder or a visionary or a builder or a caregiver or a disruptor or a healer or a storyteller or a guide. And I believe that from a sort of high level, diagonal, wide angle lens, we have each of us within us, coded within us, the capacity to deal with all of this planetary pressurization and polarization, because the other side of that coin is harmonization. We have everything it takes to optimize and alchemize everything that's afoot. And we have everything that it takes to tap into each one of those archetypes that I just spoke of and have them be mobilized inside of the truth of who we are, inside of the way in which we show up, and the way in which we presence in an undefended manner as we move through this time of our planet and our people experiencing the birth contractions of a new we. So I want to remind you that when we practice, you know, I spoke about this earlier this week, we are developing skills around having a comfort level when we are uncomfortable, becoming more comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's how we participate and co-create with our self-mastery, with the trajectory of transformation. And really, the medicine that is most needed right now in our world is for each and every one of us in our unique iterative ways to do the deep and noble work, to roll up our sleeves and to show up and to ground the transformations in the fertile, sovereign ground of who we are becoming. And there's no better platform or territory or terrain to do this for ourselves than inside of some kind of a practice. So I want to start right here with a gentle, nourishing practice. This is what we call the body rinse. So you use your hands like gigantic magnets, and you're passing your hands all across the body, from the top of the head, the back of the head, the neck, the chest, the shoulders, the underarms. Have there be a little pressure. Tune into the feeling of the warmth. The chest, the back. Get the hands up the back as much as you can. The sides of the hips, the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, the bottoms of the feet, the tops of the feet, and so forth. Keep doing this as I talk to you, as our energization exercise before we do the slightly longer meditations. Use your hands like gigantic magnets to cross the skin and to remove the magnetic filings of any excessive mind. We're always interested in that, to move from a chaotic mind to a quiet mind, and ideally into a space of less mind or no mind, which is the Buddhi mind. Realize that every time you put your hand on your chest here, or in this case, in the totality of the practice, every time you move your hands around your whole body like this, you're releasing some oxytocin. This kind of a practice, and many other kinds of practices that we do, help us to create a shift in what's being released in our neurochemistry. So we're getting a little bit more dopamine, a little bit more oxytocin, a little bit more serotonin, a little bit more endorphin. And that helps us to show up from the perspective of a joy body. Keep this going. Removing, as you are softening, removing any kind of rigid overcoat of experience. My dog just brought a big toy in. You stay cool. And recognize that when you practice, every time you practice, you're changing the zip code of your organism. You're catalyzing a shift. You're making a movement in your ecosystem. So we're moving, but we're also going more deeply inside, because freedom is an inside game. Feel available to be present to that revelation as you're doing the body rinse, coming home into your multifaceted, multi-passionate nature. Give yourself permission to be fully and creatively alive. And although we are all in our unique spaces, when we gather in this way, it is a safe space. It's a safe space to take the trust fall. It's a safe space to really zoom in and inquire, to be in your full juiciness, and to fully value your fulfillment. It's one of the most unselfish things that we can do for our world, is to prioritize, to value what our needs are around becoming fulfilled human beings so that we can show up in full stature. Be in your full sense of self-worth. Be in your full sense of value, your full sense of self-respect, and in a broad band of awe regarding how Mother Nature is configuring herself inside of you right now. The you that only you can be. The you that only you can bring. So I want you to use today's practices. My dog is getting a little out of control. I want you to use today's practices to stare every form of conditioning that may be steering you. To stare every single one of those iterations of conditioning square in the eye and say to it, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. That's one of the beautiful faces of honesty that we become really empowered with as practitioners is that we get a lot of clarity, a lot of lucidity, a lot of sobriety around our conditioning. She keeps bringing new toys into me. She wants to play with us. Let this be the last pass. I know this is a long surge with the body rinse, but keep it going. And I want to just remind you before we move into our first big practice, you can bring the practice to a close, that the one thing that you always have sovereign governance over, no matter what's going on outside of you in the world, the one thing that you always have sovereignty with is your frequency. You get to decide what frequency you are occupying, from where you are choosing to peer out from, and how, elevated or elegant or sophisticated you wish to be. That's all, in terms of energy and electricity. That's in your hands. No one can take that from you. And there's a huge amplification going on the planet right now. So use today's practices to be, I was talking about this yesterday, to be a fresh start specialist. Every time we practice, we are handed an opportunity to do just that. So I want to do a slightly longer version of what we did yesterday, which is the Satanama meditation. Today we're going to do Satanama, and then Ramadasa, and then Sase Soham. You have two choices. You can do the recitation practice with me and actually sing the mantra, or you can breathe and do the moving mudra practice, which I'll give you here in a second. I want to tell you that the Ramadasa Sase Soham part of the mantra is very powerful in its ability to cut through time and space and to catalyze remote healing. So I don't even need to unpack the many, many ways in which our world is going through a most remarkable healing right now. Yes, there's burning, but there's also healing. There's always two sides. Energy is always moving in two different directions at the same time. It's a universal law. So be tuned into the fact that there is this remote healing thing that's going on as we're doing the practice. But with regard to your local experience inside of your body-mind, I want you to be listening in to whatever kind of charisma code is asking to come into bloom inside of you. The ancient Greeks called the word charisma charisma, which means an act of grace or a favor that's given freely, charisma. And each of us we're given a unique subset of charismas and codes having to do with our charisma that we can let inform the way in which we show up in our world, especially now. So as we're doing this practice, I want you to check out how you can be in your organic innocence, how you can be in a part of your psyche that a childlike place in your psyche that isn't trying to do it right. We have enough touch points within our professional adult lives where we need to do it right, where we want to do it right, or where we just have neuroses around trying to always do it right. Come at this meditation from your most childlike place and then feel into how powerful it becomes because of that. That's what I call the organic innocence approach, and I love that. It always informs us and it always returns us to feeling, bringing us out of the numbness and the rigidity that is that overcoat that I was just speaking about at the beginning. Okay, so you're going to say sa, ta, na, ma, pressing the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and pinky finger. So I unpacked this in yesterday's session, and I'll go through it on the fly, sort of express version today. So sa, this is your index finger is your Jupiter finger, and this mudra is Gyan mudra, and it has to do with knowledge. So you're awakening your perennial innate knowledge. We have so much knowledge. We know so much more than we know that we know. So Gyan mudra, and this is plugging you in with the massive multiverse, with infinity, and then bringing that revelation into the finite form of your body. This is about our human longing for belonging within the larger context of existence and the mystery. So this is Ta is thumb to the middle finger. This is your Saturn finger, and this is Shuni Mudra. And this has to do with wisdom and patience, the cultivation of wisdom and patience, the cultivation of life and existence, honoring life and honoring existence. Sata and then Na is thumb to the ring finger. This is your sun finger. So this is Surya Mudra, and this is about cultivating vitality and a very rich kind, a very rich quality and consistency of life energy, of chi, of prana. I talk about this all the time. So this is Surya Mudra, and this helps us to honor the cyclicity of life, death, rebirth, change. And then lastly, thumb to the pinky finger. This is Mercury. This is Buddhi Mudra. And this is communication. This is about having an elevated caliber of communication, and it allows us to be in the feedback loop, the rebirth loop, to not be frightened of destruction and dissolution, because we know that on the other side of that is the reclamation of possibility and recreation of life. Okay, so Satanama, and then Ramadasa, Sase Sohang. So with each, you're just going to keep this going. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, se, so, hung. If you don't want to do the recitation, then breathe like this, please. It's the Ahimsa gap breathing technique. I introduced this last week, so you're inhaling and pausing through an open mouth, and then exhaling out of an open mouth, and pausing, inhaling, and exhaling. As you exhale, go to 0. Let your diaphragm shift. Let the 4 valves of the heart release. Let the signal of liberation be sent through and to the central nervous system, through and to the innermost chamber of your mind. Okay? I'm going to take a sip of tea before I sing for you. So you can recite the mantra with me, or you can breathe in the Ahimsa gap breathing technique that I just gave you. There's nothing to discover, only that to be uncovered. It's all within you. Uncovering the coverer. Usually it's ourselves covering ourselves, right? We know this. Satanama Ramadasa Sase Sohang Satanama Ramadasa Sase Sohang Satanama Ramadasa Sase Sohang Satanama Satanama Ramadasa Sasahiso yeah, yeah, Satanama Ramadasa Sasahiso Satanama Ramadasa Sasahiso Satanama Ramadasa Sasahiso yeah, 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 yeah. Keep it going. Satanama Ramadasa Sasahiso Satanama Ramadasa Sasahiso Satanama Ramadasa Sasahiso tuning into the charisma, the freely granted favor of grace that the universe constellated inside of the cells that make you, you, tuning in with ever deeper gratitude and awe and wonder. Meditation should always enhance our capacity for wonderment and then shift your awareness to the larger picture, opening the eye of your world mind and projecting out a most crystalline vision of wellness and reclamation and transformation, healing for our world in this time. Knowledge awakening, wisdom and patience awakening, vitality and life awakening, communication awakening, equity, inclusion awakening, harmony awakening. A big space for all of the authenticity and multiplicity, for the diversity and idiosyncrasy. There's space for it all. Thinking with your whole body and moving with your whole mind. Inhale wholeheartedly. And exhale, go to zero. All the way to zero. Rinse out the kidneys, empty out the valves of the heart, send the signal to and through the central nervous system. practice to a close. So we're going to do a short circuit of tapping to bring this session to an end for today. Bring the 6 innermost fingers of your hands to the space between your eyebrows and begin tapping there. And keep this going, recognizing that now is such a potent time. It's a potent time for laying down the weapons of competition and separation, and a time for lifting the cup of cooperation and community. Now is the time. We are the people we have been waiting for. Begin moving your fingers around your brow. Softly but surely, tapping through any remaining residue of density that may be encrusting the mind. Bring your hands now down to each side of the eyes to the temples and open those doors, open the temple doors. And tuning into a question here in closing, what is it? What practices are you doing? And I'm not just talking about integrative practices that you do with me, but what other small practices, big practices, ordinary practices do you do in your life that help other people spark into aliveness, into alivity? What are you doing? What are we doing to empower others to move into their diamond nature? Begin moving your fingers back up to the whole field of the forehead. Moving into the diamond nature, our diamond nature. What are we doing to create the spark? To create the shift from burning to tejas? To do the deep, noble work of transubstantiation and to ground all of those revelations into the sovereign ground of who we are becoming at our substratum, from a place of sincere and undeniable psychosomatic health. One more quick zoom into the temples, and then back to the space between the eyebrows. And bring the tapping to a close. Inhale wholeheartedly. Hold on to the breath. Exhale entirely. One more, inhale wholeheartedly. Exhale entirely, go to 0. Thank you for being here. Sat Nam. Namaste.